Eden's Reach had always been a quiet world on the fringe of human space, a place where families built their lives beneath twin sunsets, far from the political storms brewing in the core. Its rolling plains, vast forests, and shimmering oceans made it a sanctuary for the children of humanity's expanding frontier. But on this particular evening, as the second sun slipped below the horizon, the sky tore open with a deadly streak of light. Rena Jax was tucking her younger brother into bed when the first warning sirens shattered the calm. At first, everyone thought it was a routine drill, a precaution against the occasional piracy raids that had been growing bolder in recent months. But when her mother's comm unit crackled with urgent commands from the colony's command center, the grim truth took shape. Ships, massive, black as void and etched with strange geometric sigils, had dropped out of hyperspace just outside the planet's atmosphere. Within minutes, the fleet unleashed a volley of silent plasma bombs, disabling Eden's Reach defense. Arrays with surgical precision. No warning shots, no negotiations. The ships plunged into the atmosphere like colossal birds of prey, descending over the towns and villages where families slept, played, and lived. Chaos exploded. Rena's father grabbed her hand and sprinted through their small home as the colony. Lights flickered and failed. Outside, the night was fractured by streaks of fire as warships hovered over every populated area. The invaders deployed teams on the ground, soldiers clad in dark armor with elongated helmets that concealed faces and emotions alike. Children's screams echoed through the streets. Rena's heart pounded as her family scrambled towards the shelter beneath the school's community center, one of the few reinforced buildings in the area. But as they neared the entrance, a squad of soldiers blocked the way, raising energy nets that flickered in the fading light. Nearby, a group of children, some crying, some stunned, were being rounded up, shoved roughly into waiting transports. "Please," Rena's mother begged, but the soldiers were relentless. Rena's younger brother, barely 5, was yanked from her mother's arms, a rough hand covering his mouth to stifle his cries. The last thing Rena saw before she was shoved back was her brother's wide, terrified eyes staring at her. The transports lifted off with mechanical precision, disappearing into the thickening dusk like ghosts. In the command center, Earth's news relayed the footage instantly across the globe. Terrified children pulled from their homes, parents powerless, a colony reduced to shadows beneath alien warships. The broadcast ended with a chilling message from the Varelian Empire's envoy. "The children of humanity are now the property of the Galactic Empire. Their extraction is lawful and necessary for the preservation of galactic order." The words were met with stunned silence. Then anger. Back on Earth, the mood was unlike anything the world had seen in decades. For 50 years, humanity had survived in uneasy peace with the Varelian Empire, a civilization spanning millions of star systems and millennia old. Humans were newcomers, often underestimated, seen as unruly and volatile, but manageable. Though, abduction shattered that fragile trust. In the halls of the Terran Accord, leaders gathered in crisis. President Adriana Kyle stood before a towering viewport overlooking Earth's capital, her face a mask of stoic fury. Military advisors pressed for restraint, fearful of igniting a full-scale war against a vastly superior foe. The Galactic Council, an uneasy alliance of alien civilizations, urged diplomacy, calling the incident a misunderstanding best resolved behind closed doors. But Kale knew better. Humanity's history was written in blood and survival. They had endured extinction-level events on Earth, fought wars that had torn the planet apart, and emerged stronger every time. The children taken were not just offspring. They were the future of a species that refused to bow. In the quiet moments of the night, Kale's resolve hardened. She summoned Commander Elias Ward, a legend among Terran forces, a man who had led guerrilla campaigns against space pirates and rogue states. Ward had the instincts of a predator and the heart of a guardian. If anyone could retrieve the children, it was him. "Your orders will be clear," Kale said. "This is no longer a political issue. It's a rescue mission. We bring our children home." Ward nodded, eyes shadowed by the weight of the task. "Understood, Madam President, we don't fail. Meanwhile, on Eden's Reach, the transports carried the stolen children deeper into Varelian space, toward a fate unknown. Some sobbed softly, clutching makeshift toys. Others, too scared or stunned to cry, stared blankly at the cold metal walls. One child, Tara, barely 10, felt something stirring inside her, a strange heat beneath her skin. She didn't understand it, but the feeling was strong, wild, almost alive. The warships above faded into the night sky, leaving Eden's Reach a silent, broken world. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's peace for too long. Now, that peace was broken, and humanity was coming for war. The halls of the Terran Accord's High Council were tense, suffused with the hum of anxious voices and the cold glare of artificial lights. Screens lined the walls, streaming endless feeds from Eden's Reach, still smoldering, silent, empty. Humanity's new frontier had been shattered, and the world's gaze was fixed on one question. What now? President Adriana Kale stood at the center of the room, flanked by military commanders, diplomats, and intelligence chiefs. Her gaze was steady, but inside, a tempest raged. The Varelian Empire, with its vast fleets and ancient power, had crossed a line that could not be ignored. They had taken humanity's children. Silence fell as the galactic broadcast from the Empire's envoy repeated on every screen. The children of humanity are now the property of the Galactic Empire. Their extraction is lawful and necessary for the preservation of galactic order. Property? Kale's voice was low but cutting. We are not livestock. These are our children. A cluster of diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. Ambassador Arthak of the Keldari, the reptilian species who chaired the Galactic Council, spoke with a smooth, chilling calm. President Kyle, the Council urges you to exercise restraint. Any aggressive response risks sparking a war that could end with humanity's eradication. The Empire's actions are regrettable, but within their sovereign rights. We must negotiate. Kale's jaw tightened. Negotiate? We've been negotiating for 50 years while our children are taken. We will not be made pawns any longer. The room erupted in debate. Some urged caution. Earth's fleets were dwarfed by Varelian forces. Others called for swift military action. But beneath the surface, a quiet war was already underway. In the shadows of the city, beyond the polished government chambers, the Terran Navy was mobilizing. Communications that had been dormant for decades sparked to life. Fleets at remote outposts were ordered to full combat readiness. Ships accelerated from repair docks. Soldiers readied their weapons. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the heavy cruiser Iron Resolve, watching the planets drift by on the holographic display. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the Varelian fleet is spreading. Patrols near the outer colonies, they're tightening the noose. Ward's face was grim. Good. Let them come. We're ready. Yet the commander knew the odds were grim. The Varelian Empire had fought wars for thousands of years. Their fleets numbered in the hundreds of thousands of ships, backed by ancient technology humanity barely understood. But humans had something the Empire did not: unpredictability and desperation. Meanwhile, diplomatic backchannels buzzed with tension. Earth's intelligence operatives intercepted encrypted transmissions hinting at Varelian internal dissent. Some voices within the Empire whispered fear of humanity's rapid evolution, a secret the galaxy had not known. It was clear the children were more than prisoners. They were key to something far darker. On a hidden conference call, Kyle addressed her closest advisors. Our peace has been a fragile lie, she said. We were tolerated because we were predictable. But now we have become a threat. We must embrace what makes us dangerous. She paused. We launch Operation Iron Womb, a surgical strike to retrieve our children. No negotiation, no compromise. The galaxy will know that humanity protects its own. Back on Eden's Reach, the silence was suffocating. Families were left to pick up pieces, but no one dared hope for a peaceful resolution. The stolen children's absence haunted every corner, On the streets, whispers of resistance began to spread, a quiet fury growing beneath the calm. Rena Jax, once terrified, now found her fear transforming into a burning resolve. She joined a local network of volunteers and scientists working to gather intelligence on the kidnappers. "The Empire thinks they can break us," she told a group in a dimly lit basement. "But they don't know what they're dealing with. We'll find the children. We'll fight." At the same time, across the stars in the Varelian capital of Kushar, tensions simmered. The Council of Elders debated in hushed, urgent tones. "Humanity is awakening," whispered High Elder Varnak. "Their children carry the key to powers beyond our control." Another elder hissed, "We cannot afford to let them rise. We must hold our grip, whatever the cost." The seeds of civil unrest stirred within the Empire itself. Some saw humanity as a threat to be crushed. Others feared the consequences of their actions. As the days passed, humanity held its breath. The world waited, balanced on a knife's edge. Would the Terran Navy strike first? Would diplomacy survive? Or would the galaxy finally witness humanity's wrath unleashed? In the quiet before the storm, one truth echoed louder than all. Humanity had been pushed too far, and when they finally moved, the stars themselves would burn. Commander Elias Ward's ship, the Iron Resolve, slipped through the cold blackness of space like a shadow. Behind its sleek hull, a squadron of stealth fighters, ghosts themselves, followed in tight formation. Their destination was a remote frozen moon on the edge of Varelian space, Kasara Prime. Intelligence had pinpointed the site as a secret Varelian research facility where the kidnapped children were being held. "Prepare for silent insertion," Ward ordered, his voice low and steady in the cramped command deck. "No alarms, no distractions. We get in, get the children, get out." The crew worked with practiced efficiency. Time was a luxury they did not have. Kasara Prime hung in the void, a desolate, ice-choked orb marked by scars of ancient bombardment. The moon's surface was a labyrinth of tunnels and domes carved beneath glaciers, shielded from prying eyes by layers of permafrost and electromagnetic interference. Ward's strike team, veterans of countless black ops, suited up in stealth, armor designed to withstand the moon's biting cold and Varelian bioneural defenses. Their weapons were silenced energy rifles and compact explosives calibrated for surgical destruction. The insertion was flawless. They slipped beneath the moon's icy crust through a ventilation shaft cracked open by an initial plasma charge. Inside, the team moved like shadows through sterile corridors. The faint hum of machinery and distant muffled cries guided them deeper. Then they found the children. Rows of biocontainment pods lined a vast chamber. Some pods held motionless forms, faces pale and peaceful. Others stirred, eyes flickering open with confusion and terror. The children were hooked to tubes and machines pumping unfamiliar substances into their veins. One pod in the far corner blinked with a warning light. Ward motioned to Lieutenant Marachen, their medic. "They're still alive," she whispered, eyes scanning the monitors. "But these experiments, they're altering them. Neural scans show rapid synaptic changes, some kind of forced evolution." A sudden alarm shattered the silence. "Breach detected," crackled a Varelian voice over the intercom. Varelian soldiers poured into the chamber, sleek, armored figures wielding energy carbines. The strike team opened fire, plasma bolts streaking through the air, casting eerie glows on the pod walls. In the chaos, a small figure broke free from a pod. Tara, the girl from Eden's Reach, stumbled, blinking against the harsh light. She felt strange inside, as if a spark had ignited in her mind. As a Varelian soldier lunged toward her, she instinctively shoved out her hands, and a wave of invisible force slammed him against the far wall. Her eyes flashed electric blue. Ward saw it and shouted, "Get her out of there!" Two soldiers formed a protective shield around Tara as they fought their way back through the corridors, covering their retreat with precision and deadly efficiency. The moon shook as the team planted charges in key systems, preparing to destroy the facility. But the price was steep. One by one, the squad fell, trading their lives for the children's escape. Back on the Iron Resolve, the evac shuttles lifted off, carrying the survivors, the living children, exhausted soldiers, and the broken. Tara lay in a med bay, her small body trembling but her eyes burning with a fierce light. "Commander," Mara said, "whatever they did to these kids, it's more than genetic manipulation. It's something psychic." Ward looked out at the stars, jaw clenched. The Empire thought they could control us by stealing our future. They were wrong. News of the raid broke across the galaxy hours later. Images of the destroyed lab, the rescued children, and the fierce human assault streamed into every living room and public square. The Varelian Empire denounced the attack as barbaric aggression. The Galactic Council demanded humanity stand down. But Earth erupted. Parents wept in relief and fury. Soldiers cheered the bravery of Ward's team. Protesters flooded the streets demanding justice. And in the hearts of every human, a single truth burned bright. Humanity would not be victimized. President Kale addressed the world that night, her voice steady and fierce. "They took our children, and we took back our future. This is no longer a time for silence or submission. This is a time to stand, to fight, and to reclaim what is ours." Her words echoed across a galaxy on edge. Yet as the dust settled, Ward studied Tara's case with growing unease. The girl's abilities were evolving rapidly. Telekinetic pulses, sudden bursts of strength, moments of eerie calm that belied her years. "This is just the beginning," Ward muttered. The war had truly begun, not just for the children, but for humanity's destiny itself. The world watched in stunned silence as the Terran Accords broadcast began, live, unfiltered, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. On the massive holoscreens towering above the capital's central plaza, images flickered rapidly. The smoldering ruins of the Varelian lab moon, terrified children cradled by soldiers, shattered containment pods, and then, their horror, the cold, merciless experiments. The camera settled on President Adriana Kale, standing tall against a backdrop of human flags and the wreckage of Eden's Reach. She spoke with calm fury, every word measured yet charged, with emotion. "For too long humanity sought peace within this galaxy," Kyle began, her voice carrying across millions of homes and starports. "We welcomed dialogue, we honored treaties, we extended our hand in good faith, yet in return, the Varelian Empire kidnapped our children. They subjected them to horrific experiments. They shattered our peace." Her eyes scanned the crowd, the millions watching from every corner of known space. "We came seeking justice, through words and diplomacy, and found only silence." Her voice hardened. "So today that silence ends." Behind her, the footage of the rescue mission played again, this time without censorship. The violence, the destruction, the children, fighting back with newfound powers, all visible to the galaxy. The Varelian Council erupted with outrage. Messages of condemnation poured into every diplomatic channel. The Empire called humanity's actions reckless, dangerous, and a violation of interstellar law. But for humanity, the speech ignited a fire that had been smoldering for decades. On Earth, protests erupted, but unlike the peaceful demonstrations of the past, these were calls for action. Citizens rallied behind Kale's declaration, demanding the Terran Navy strike deep into Varelian space. The Galactic Council's appeals for calm were met with derision and anger. Kale's advisors warned her. The Empire's fleets outnumbered, their own tenfold. An all-out war could mean humanity's destruction, but Kale only smiled grimly. "Let them count us out. They've never seen what humanity can do when cornered." Fleet commanders scrambled to mobilize. In the orbital docks of Luna and Mars, construction yards buzzed day and night, churning out warships armed with cutting-edge Terran technology, AI-guided missile swarms, adaptive energy shields, plasma torpedoes, and stealth drones. Commander Elias Ward prepared his forces for a new mission, one far larger than any Black Ops raid. The Iron Resolve would lead the first wave in a coordinated assault on the Empire's outer defenses. "Make no mistake," Ward told his officers. "This is war, The galaxy will see what it means to challenge humanity. Meanwhile, whispers circulated in the underworld and diplomatic backchannels. Strange phenomena were occurring among the rescued children and human soldiers alike. Some displayed psychic abilities, telekinesis, precognition, bursts of energy unlike any known technology. The so-called awakening trait was no longer theoretical, it was real and spreading. Scientists raced to study Tara and the others, hoping to understand and perhaps control the powers emerging within them. In a hidden lab on Earth, geneticist Dr. Lena Mora stared at the neural scans on her holoscreen. "These aren't just mutations," she said quietly to herself. "This is evolution in overdrive. They're unlocking something ancient, something the Empire feared." Across the galaxy, the Varelian Empire's internal fractures deepened. The Council of Elders, once monolithic, now fought bitterly among themselves. High Elder Varnak argued for crushing humanity with overwhelming force. But at what cost? Another elder countered. "Their power grows. Our cruelty is awakening, a force beyond our control." The Empire teetered on the brink of civil war as its grip weakened. Back on Earth, President Kyle addressed the Galactic Council in a historic, unyielding broadcast. "No longer will humanity be the galaxy's silent victim," she declared. "We demand an end to tyranny, an end to silence, and an end to fear. We will fight, not for conquest, but for survival, for justice, for our children." The broadcast ended with a stark warning. The galaxy can either stand with humanity or be swept aside by the storm we will bring. The first strikes came within hours. Human fleets launched a coordinated offensive against key Varelian supply depots and communication hubs. The attacks were swift and brutal, harvesting surprise and speed rather than overwhelming force. Worlds long thought secure by the Empire were plunged into darkness. Galactic news feeds flooded with reports of battles and daring raids, human pilots daring to fly into enemy fire with reckless precision, Marines taking ground with relentless tenacity. But amid the chaos, a haunting truth emerged. The stolen children, now returned to Terran custody, were no longer innocent victims. Their eyes glowed with otherworldly light. Their minds whispered in voices unheard by ordinary ears. They were the key to a power the galaxy had never seen, and the battle had only just begun. As the stars burned with the fires of war, humanity spoke one message loud and clear. The galaxy was shifting. As humanity's war drums echoed louder, the ancient order of the Galactic Council trembled on the edge of collapse. Old alliances fractured, and new ones formed in the shadows, quietly, carefully, in places few dared to watch. In the bowels of a hidden station cloaked by asteroid debris, Arthak, the Keldari ambassador, paced with restless claws clicking against the floor. The reptilian diplomat was a creature of cold logic, but even he could feel the tides of change. "We cannot afford to back the Varelian Empire blindly," Arthak muttered to a small gathering of representatives from neutral systems, the Zilari, the Drenth, and a human diplomat sent by Kale herself. "The humans have awakened something. Their children, those altered by the Empire, are not just victims. They are weapons. If we stand with the Empire, we risk igniting a war none of us can control." The human diplomat, Ambassador Lena Miles, met Rethak's gaze with steady resolve. "Our people are fighting for survival, not conquest," Miles said. President Kale's message was clear. "We want peace, but we will not bow." The meeting was tense, but crucial. Miles knew the stakes. Humanity could not face the might of the Empire alone. They needed allies, hidden, influential, and willing to break the Council's fragile facade. Meanwhile, on the fringes of Varelian space, a rogue fleet moved silently. Commanded by Captain Saris Ven of the disgraced Varelian House Vokar, these defectors had grown disillusioned with the Council's ruthless tactics. They had witnessed the cruelty inflicted on humanity's children and feared what their own leaders were unleashing. Saris communicated through encrypted channels to the Terran Navy, offering a fragile but vital alliance. "We will aid humanity," she said, "for the sake of balance and because we believe the Empire's path leads to destruction. Her fleet was small but skilled, its pilots knowing the Empire's tactics intimately. The offer was risky, but Ward knew every advantage counted. Back on Earth, Commander Elias Ward reviewed the intelligence on Saris Ven's fleet. "We've got friends in unexpected places," Ward muttered. "But trust is a currency none of us can afford to waste." He organized joint training exercises between Terran and Varelian defectors, preparing them for coordinated strikes. The old rivalries were slow to fade, but necessity forged bonds faster than politics. Amid this uneasy alliance, Terra's powers continued to evolve. Under the care of Dr. Lena Mora, she and the other children trained in secret facilities designed to harness their abilities: telekinesis, mental projection, and precognitive visions. One night, Terra woke from a nightmare, visions of a galaxy consumed by shadow and fire. She found Ward waiting outside her room. "You're not alone anymore, Terra," he said quietly. "We're fighting for you, for all of you." Her eyes glowed faintly. "I see it too, the darkness coming." Ward's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare." But not all on Earth welcomed the new alliances and emerging powers. Political factions clamored for peace at any cost, warning that the children's abilities were dangerous and unpredictable. Protests flared, accusing Kale's government of risking humanity's future. Yet in the shadows of power, other forces moved. Black market arms dealers, mercenaries, and radical factions sought to exploit the chaos for their own ends, selling weapons, recruiting disillusioned soldiers, and stoking fires of rebellion. In the midst of this turmoil, intelligence intercepted a Varelian transmission, plans for a devastating weapon, codenamed the Silence. Rumored to erase entire star systems from existence, it was the Empire's last gambit to crush humanity and any dissent within their ranks. Kale's advisors scrambled to decipher the threat. "We must strike before the Silence is operational," warned General Harlan, head of Terran defenses. "If it activates, millions of lives, perhaps entire planets, will be lost." The BAU alliance between humans and Varelian defectors coalesced into a fragile coalition. Plans were drawn for a daring assault on the weapons construction site, a heavily fortified Varelian superstation hidden in the dark void near the galactic core. Ward was chosen to lead the mission. "This is more than a strike," he told his team. "It's a message. Humanity will fight for every star, every child, and every breath of freedom." As the fleets prepared to depart, Terra's mind reached out, not just across the ship, but through the void between stars. She glimpsed the coming storm, a war that would shatter worlds and forge legends. And she understood the truth burning in her soul. This war was not just for survival, it was for humanity's very soul. The cold void stretched endlessly around the superstation, known only as the Forge. Hidden deep within a nebula near the galactic core, it was a monolithic fortress of black steel and humming energy. Here, the Varelian Empire's most secret weapon was nearing completion: the Silence. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, gazing at the vast silhouette of the station looming like a dark god before them. Beside him, Captain Saris Ven adjusted her helm, eyes sharp and steady. The Terran-Varelian coalition fleet had gathered in a tight formation, every ship ready for the impossible. "Intel confirms the weapons core is shielded by multiple energy barriers," Ward said. "Standard assault won't work. We need precision strikes." His tactical officer nodded. "We'll deploy the stealth teams first, disable the shields from within. Then the main fleet moves in to neutralize the station's defenses." Ward looked out at the fleet, knowing the risks. "We strike fast, we strike hard, and we don't stop until the Silence is silenced." Inside the station, the air was thick with tension. Varelian engineers worked feverishly, unaware the enemy was at their gates. Among them, an uneasy faction of defectors, led by Saris's trusted lieutenant, covertly sabotaged critical systems. Deep in the labyrinthine corridors, human operatives moved silently, planting charges and hacking consoles. The fate of billions hung on their success. Back on the Iron Resolve, Terra sat in the medical bay, her fingers twitching as waves of psychic energy surged through her. She had sensed the station's power growing, an unbearable pressure pressing on her mind. It was as if the weapon itself whispered dark promises of silence and oblivion. Dr. Lena Mora watched anxiously. "You have to focus, Tara. Your abilities may be the key to breaking through their shields." Tara's eyes flickered bright blue. "I can feel it. The core's energy. It's alive." Ward entered quietly. "We need you, Tara. Your power could save millions." She nodded, fear and determination battling within her. "I'm ready." The assault began with brutal efficiency. Stealth teams infiltrated the station's surface, disabling external defenses. Explosions ripped through the corridors as charges detonated, plunging sectors into darkness. Alarms blared, but the attackers moved faster. Inside the station's heart, the weapon pulsed. A monstrous lattice of glowing crystals and dark energy, humming with deadly potential. Virelian soldiers guarded it fiercely, but were no match for the combined human and defector forces. As Ward's team reached the core chamber, Tara stepped forward. Concentrating, she extended her mind into the weapon's lattice, feeling the cold alien intelligence within. The station shook violently. A voice echoed in Tara's mind. "Alien, ancient, and terrible. You seek to silence the silence? You cannot grasp the power you wield." Tara's vision blurred as waves of psychic backlash slammed into her, but she pressed on, unraveling the weapon's energy matrix with focused will. Suddenly, a blinding pulse exploded outward, throwing the chamber into chaos. The energy barriers flickered and failed. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, alarms shrieked. "The shields are down," shouted the tactical officer. "All units, commence attack." Fleet weapons unleashed a furious barrage, tearing through the station's outer hull. Fires erupted and the superstructure began to crumble, but the silence was not defeated yet. In the final moments, a shockwave rippled outward, a wave of void energy designed to erase all life in the surrounding system. Tara screamed, pushing her powers to the limit. Shielding the Iron Resolve and allied ships with a psychic barrier, she absorbed the shockwave's deadly force. Her body convulsed, mind straining against the collapse. When the light faded, the fleet emerged battered but intact. The superstation was no more. The galaxy's darkest threat had been stopped, at least for now. But victory came with a heavy price. Many ships were lost, brave souls sacrificed in the brutal siege, and Tara lay unconscious, her mind pushed to the brink. Commander Ward stood over her medbay pod, a grim determination in his eyes. "This war is far from over," he whispered, "but we've shown them humanity fights with every fiber of its being." Back on Earth, news of the Silence's destruction spread like wildfire. For the first time in years, hope burned fiercely among humanity. President Kale's voice rang out again. "Today we shattered the silence of fear. We stood united, fought together, and won. But our fight continues. For our children, for our future. We will not relent." Yet in the depths of the shattered station's ruins, a faint pulse lingered, whisper of the power that had once threatened to consume the galaxy, and far beyond, new eyes watched humanity's rise with a mixture of fear and fascination. The war had only just begun. The victory at the Forge was a beacon of hope for humanity and its fragile allies, but it also ignited a firestorm across the galaxy. The destruction of the Silence had shattered the illusion of Virelian invincibility, but the Empire's wrath had only begun to surface. Commander Elias Ward paced the command deck of the Iron Resolve, his gaze fixed on the galactic map. Red blips marked Virelian fleets converging on key systems. A brutal counterstrike designed to crush human advances and punish those who dared to ally with them. Intel confirms multiple fleets are en route to Terran border worlds. Lieutenant Chen reported. "They're targeting civilian populations. This isn't just war, it's terror." Ward clenched his fists. "We need to rally every available ship, evacuate civilians, prepare for the worst." On Earth, the political landscape shifted as pressure mounted. President Adriana Kale faced fierce opposition from factions demanding peace negotiations. The fear of a prolonged, devastating war weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her closest advisor, General Harlan, warned grimly, "If we don't strike decisively now, the Empire will swallow us whole. They've lost patience." Kyle nodded. "Then, we give them no quarter. Humanity has endured too much to back down now." Meanwhile, Tara stirred from her coma in the medbay. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing with a faint electric blue light. Dr. Lena Mora watched with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Tara's psychic link with the weapon caused severe neurological trauma, Lena explained to Ward. But her abilities have stabilized and grown stronger. Ward approached the girl's bedside. "Can you see the future?" Tara's voice was soft but resolute. "I see war, a storm rising from the ashes. But I also see a chance." In the shadows of the galaxy, new players emerged. An ancient race known only as the Archinthians observed humanity's struggle with wary fascination. Their vast starships drifted silently beyond the edge of known space, their motives inscrutable. A mysterious envoy arrived on Earth's moonbase, bearing an offer of aid, but with cryptic warnings. "The balance of the galaxy is shifting," the Archinthian leader intoned. "Your fight may awaken forces you do not understand." Back within Varelian ranks, the Council of Elders fractured further. High Elder Varnak's hardline faction pushed for total war. Others urged caution, fearing the unleashed powers within humanity's children. Saris Ven, the Varelian defector now allied with Ward, warned, "The Empire is losing control. Their desperation will drive them to madness." As Varelian fleets surged toward the Terran systems, Ward coordinated a massive defense. Battle stations buzzed with urgency. Fleet commanders relayed orders with grim determination. The first wave hit near Proxima Centauri, once a peaceful outpost now transformed into a fortress. The Iron Resolve led the charge, weaving through enemy fire as fighters swarmed overhead. Tara, aboard the flagship, focused her psychic shield to protect the fleet, her energy rippling like a living barrier. Amidst the chaos, Ward glimpsed a Varelian dreadnought, a colossal warship bristling with new weaponry, unlike anything seen before. "Target that ship," Ward ordered. "It's the key to their assault." The battle raged fiercely. Explosions lit the void as fighters clashed in deadly dogfights. Mara Chen's medical team worked tirelessly, saving lives amid the carnage. But the dreadnought unleashed a devastating blast, a pulse that tore through shields and disabled key systems on several Terran vessels. Ward's ship shook violently. "Status report." "Critical damage to the port engine," came the reply. "We're losing speed." Tara reached out with her mind, pushing back the energy surge, but it drained her strength rapidly. "I can't hold it much longer," she gasped. Ward gritted his teeth. "We have to finish this." With a coordinated strike, Saris Ven's defectors targeted the dreadnought's exposed weapon arrays. Explosions rocked the massive ship, forcing it to retreat, but the victory was costly. Several human ships were lost, and the fleet was pushed to the brink of exhaustion. In the aftermath, Ward convened with President Kale and Saris Ven. "We've won a battle," Ward said, "but the war is far from over. The Empire will escalate." Kale's eyes burned with resolve. "Then we prepare for the storm." As the stars flickered with renewed conflict, Tara's visions grew darker. She saw shadows creeping over distant worlds, heard whispers of ancient powers awakening beneath the galaxy's surface. The storm was coming, and humanity's greatest test was yet to come. The galaxy held its breath. Planets trembled under the shadow of approaching war fleets. The fragile alliance between humanity and their unlikely allies was pushed to the breaking point. Every star system became a potential battlefield, every soul a soldier in a conflict that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, staring at the swirling maelstrom of enemy ships converging on Earth's home system. The Varelian Empire had unleashed everything they had, their fleets, their horrors, their fanatical zealots. The time for diplomacy had long passed. "We're outnumbered," Ward said grimly to his officers. "But we fight with everything we have." On Earth, President Adriana Kale addressed the world one final time before the battle. Today we stand united, not just as a species but as a family. The children we rescued, the powers they wield, the sacrifices we've made, they are the legacy of hope that will light our darkest hour. The Empire wants to silence us. We will roar back. Her voice cracked with emotion, but her resolve was iron. Meanwhile, Tara sat in the command center, her glowing eyes closed in concentration. Her psychic energies had matured beyond anything her doctors had imagined. She was humanity's secret weapon and its fragile heart. Ward approached quietly. "Tara, we need you. This fight, it's bigger than any of us." She opened her eyes. "Bright as stars. I see the final battle. It will test everything we are." The battle began in a fury of light and sound. Varelian dreadnoughts tore through space with deadly precision. Human fighters danced through laser fire, desperate to protect their lines. The Iron Resolve led the charge, weaving through debris and blasts. Saris Ven piloted her ship alongside Ward, their combined forces striking at the enemy's command ships. Her defectors knew the Empire's tactics and their weaknesses. Amid the chaos, the unexpected happened. The Archinthian fleet, massive, silent, and impenetrable, arrived at the edge of the conflict. Their sleek warships opened fire on the Varelian, flanks disrupting their formations. An envoy's message crackled through the comms. "The galaxy's balance is at risk. We will not allow annihilation. Join us, or be swept aside." The fragile alliance grew stronger, but the Empire's desperation was deadly. High Elder Varnak unleashed a forbidden weapon, a colossal energy storm designed to engulf the battlefield, wiping out all life within light years. The storm surged toward the fleet, dark and unstoppable. Tara rose, her form shimmering with psychic energy. She reached out with her mind, weaving a barrier of light around the Iron Resolve and nearby ships. The storm crashed against the shield, shaking the fleet, but faltering. Her energy waned and she gasped. "Hold on," Ward shouted. "We're with you." In the final moments, a boarding party from the Empire breached the Iron Resolve. Fierce hand-to-hand combat erupted aboard the ship's corridors. Ward and Saris fought back-to-back, their enemies falling beneath coordinated strikes. "You're fighting for more than your lives," Ward growled. "You're fighting for humanity." Tara, drawing on every ounce of her power, shattered the energy storm with a blinding psychic pulse. The shockwave rippled through space, incapacitating enemy ships and turning the tide. But the effort drained her completely. She collapsed as Ward caught her. The battle's end came with a heavy silence. The Varelian fleets retreated, their forces shattered and broken. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's indomitable spirit, a species no longer silent, no longer broken. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council reconvened. The war had exposed their weaknesses and the need for a new order. President Kale, flanked by Ward and Saris, stood before the assembly. "We fought not to conquer, but to survive and to protect. Let this be the dawn of a new era, one where peace is forged not from fear but from understanding." Tara, now resting in a quiet garden beneath Earth's blue sky, smiled softly. Her journey, from kidnapped child to symbol of hope, was far from over. The storm had passed, but the future awaited.